What is happening, Cowboys Nation? How's everybody? First of all, I have to say, missed y'all a little bit. I was on vacation.
Out for a couple weeks, yeah.
Yeah, like a week and a half. And like I said, I missed y'all, but glad to be back. Glad to be back, after another Cowboys win. I listened to some of it on the radio while I was on my way. I actually was at the racetrack. I was at a NASCAR race down there in Homestead, Florida. So, but it sounds like the second half was a bit better than the first half went, gentlemen.
Definitely. Yeah, but we do want to thank everybody for joining us, and we want to thank Landon here for joining the show today. If you don't know Landon, he is with the
Locked On Cowboys.
Locked On. I would say Talking Cowboys, but Locked On podcast with Marcus Mosier. Great listen every single day. They put out great material, great stuff. So we are really happy to have you join us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm always excited to talk Cowboys.
Definitely. So do we want to get into just a short recap? We'll talk about the Lions game and what our thoughts were. You want to kind of give your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to let you guys take it since
apparently we got to fill you in, right?
Yeah. I caught some of it once I got home, but I've only been home since late Tuesday, so I'm still playing catch up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of started out kind of inauspicious, and it didn't necessarily look great early on. I think we were all kind of just unsure of exactly what we were going to see out of Dak and exactly what the offense specifically was going to look like early on. And I think that they were a little bit cautious with him early on. And I think, he as we've seen with Dak many times over the years, he has a tendency to get too hyped. And I think that there were times early on when he was just a little bit too excited, but at the same time, like, I didn't feel like it was like too difficult a transition for him to get back into the swing of things. It didn't feel like a lot of the kind of issues with the offense, their inability to kind of convert a couple of those had anything to do with a physical inability or the fact that his thumb was bothering him to the point where he couldn't be accurate. If anything, I think he had some decision-making stuff, and then there were a couple of plays where you feel like the wide receivers probably could have given him a little bit more to catch the ball. But yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. By the second half, I would say, kind of going back to look at the game, really by the end of the second quarter, the offense had kind of found their rhythm a little bit more. They were able to move the ball a little bit. Obviously, after that, they still had the Brown fumble inside the 10-yard line, which was unfortunate. But I think at that point, at least for me, I was confident that, okay, we got to recover from this. But at this point, the offense is kind of back on track. At that point, the defense was truly just getting after the Lions in a large way. Even with the run game having some effectiveness early, it just didn't feel like the Lions had enough to kind of keep up with Dallas if they were able to kind of stable things. And then, as the third and fourth started to weigh in, the gravity of the Cowboys' talent advantage over the Lions kind of, paved its way. So, and eventually, they started to pull away, and as the defense started to feed on the points being scored by the offense, they kind of, created a positive feedback loop, and then suddenly, you're up by multiple scores. So I feel like that's kind of how I thought the game was going to go. Maybe not. I thought that there was going to be more scoring overall, but I tend to think that it played out kind of similarly how we predicted it was going to go.
Yeah, what is one thing that we know about Dak is he's a rhythm passer. Like he needs to get into a rhythm. And sometimes it takes him a little bit longer to get into that rhythm than other times. And when you haven't played football in 5 weeks and really haven't thrown a ton because you've had a broken thumb on your throwing hand, it took a little while for him to get into rhythm. But you saw that as the game progressed, he started to get into that rhythm and started to make some plays happen. Made some really good throws. Like you said, made some questionable decisions. That one into triple coverage over the middle to CeeDee Lamb, that's the big one everybody's talking about. Should have been. That was a beautiful throw, though. That was right on the
I
a
have no problem
dime.
with that throw. Going back and watching that throw, especially with the coach's tape,
Mhm.
he dimed it. Like it
Yeah.
was a dot. Like if CD just reaches out instead of trying to body catch it,
Yeah, he tried to body
he
catch it.
snatches that ball, and then suddenly we're talking about maybe the best throw in that we've seen Dak make in 2 years.
That throw
So
was spot on. And
it
it
was
kind of,
sick.
it kind of reminded me of that throw last year against Tampa in week 1 where he threw it over the middle,
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
dime to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb didn't
Yeah.
body catch it, but he didn't catch it with his hands, bounced up in the air and got picked off. You know,
Yeah.
both those throws were just beautiful throws that just didn't work out.
Yeah. And honestly, for that one, I specifically put that one on CD because
I mean,
he put his hands on it. By trying to body catch it, he invited the safety the opportunity to kind of bring himself into the play at the point of attack. So, I felt like I know that was the one that seems like a lot of folks in Cowboys Nation were kind of like looking onto, but honestly, like it was an aggressive throw, but he made it, and then like he did his part, and it certainly wasn't incomplete because it was a bad decision or a bad throw.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And like you said, as the game went on, the offense got more comfortable. They showed some really cool formations. They're running a lot more like 13 personnel, 23 personnel with 3 tight ends, just because these young tight ends have looked so good. And
did I see Jason Peters as a tight end out there?
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did. I think.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Landon. Do you think the Jason Peters at left guard experiment is over? Because I don't think he got a snap at left guard. I think it was all like lining up as the kind of outside of the tackles.
Yeah, but I think it's over because not necessarily because he hasn't played fantastic there.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't necessarily picked up and played at like an all-pro level or anything like that. But I honestly think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that I think Connor McGovern is actually playing better football these last few weeks.
Mhm.
And I also think that, as you start to get closer to November, you start looking at that Tyron clock and you start to wonder, like what's the plan here after the bye? Like is there a possibility that they look into, and this is obviously made even more complicated by the fact that McGovern may be playing a little bit better. Do they look into the option of potentially kicking Tyler Smith back inside to guard and playing Jason Peters at left tackle until Tyron comes back? And with the idea that by the time Tyron gets back, Smith will be back used to playing left guard. You slide Tyron back in, and then Bob's your uncle. Suddenly you could have a very, very good offensive line. So I think that's going to be an interesting storyline over the bye, is exactly how they decide to shuffle the elements on the left side, because again, it's 4 pieces. It's McGovern, it's Tyler Smith, it's Tyron Smith, and it's Jason Peters. How do you, arrange that in such a way that you're going to get the best 5 that have played together? That's the other part of it too, that has some continuity by the end of the season. And that change, if you're going to make it, I think it really has to start, through the bye week and kind of give yourself an extra week of practice to kind of solidify everything there.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah. Do we want to, the big news that broke this week for the Cowboys,
Right.
the Cowboys at least, was the Cowboys went out, and I don't know how many years we've all been screaming to go get a big nasty, a big guy in the center of the line. And, they finally went out and got him. Now, granted, Jonathan Hankins, granted, it's a few years late on him. He's not quite the player that he was before, but he's still a quality guy, quality run stopper. Landon, what are your thoughts on the Hankins signing and just a quick breakdown of what kind of player he is?
Well, first of all, I'll say it is kind of funny hearing everybody talk about how it's that we finally got this big guy in here, and finally, after all these years, got this big guy in here. Like we're all pretending that Dontari Poe didn't ever exist and never came in, and how terrible.
We
that
don't want that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Remember that.
Yeah.
So we're just pretending like that didn't exist, that didn't happen. Looking at what happened with Hank, or what Hankins' situation was, right? Like Hankins spent multiple years in Vegas and in Oakland or wherever we're calling the Raiders at this point. And I think, when he got there, it was Rod Marinelli who was the defensive coordinator, and he was playing in kind of a one gap scheme, similar to what we kind of play. And he was being used a lot differently. Fast forward to last year, they hire Patrick Graham away from the Giants, and Graham likes to use kind of a whole bunch of different fronts and try to kind of get some creative coverage on the back end. And I think that he just didn't have a plan for Hankins, and that's fine. I mean, that's going to happen when you trade defensive or when you swap out defensive coordinators, that you just sometimes those guys just don't have good plans for all your personnel, and that's part of the turnover that happens whenever you switch over coaching staffs. I think they drafted some young guys. Hankins didn't necessarily fit what they were trying to do necessarily. So I mean, I watched the tape, and it just feels like there are too many times when his skill set is not being kind of used properly. And I would define his skill set to me as he is a block engager. He's a guy that he get his head in a crack and take on two offensive linemen at once. He can keep your second level clean. He's definitely not a guy that you're going to want to rush the passer. He's definitely not a guy that you're going to want to push the pocket. And I think that the thing that to remember here is that I think for the Cowboys, he has more value than he did for the Raiders. I think for the Cowboys, they've got all the pass rushers they need. We're fine. Right. We're good on pass rushers. Yeah. Please get into the third down. Please throw the football on us. Please. That's what we're trying to do. So I think that the whole Hankins signing is to get us into more of those opportunities. It's about winning on first and second down and clogging things up and allowing the linebackers to run free. I don't know if you guys watched that Denver Oakland game that was so ugly for Russell Wilson. But they had that safety, I think. And actually, I'm not even sure if it was a safety because I didn't actually watch the game live. I only watched the tape. But there was that play where it looked like it was a safety where the running back ran straight into the back of his guards. And that was because Hankins had basically taken the guard in the center and said, nope, you're not going anywhere. And he basically stopped the whole play, shoved them both back into the halfback, and he stumbled back into the end zone. So I think he has value simply for in the fact of just the ability to keep your second level clean and ability to let guys like Leighton Vander Esch and kind of some of these other folks run free. And I think that's been part, and not all of it, but part of the issue in the run game. If you notice, it hasn't been so much. I mean, there has been a little bit of problems in the middle of running of the ball, but what I've really seen the issues are on the edge. When they get they get to the edge, and a lot of it is, some of it is that you've got defensive ends who are getting hooked. You've got kind of undersized guys who are maybe getting, pushed around a little bit at the point of attack. I think Basham will help a little bit with that if he comes back and is not traded. But I think the other part of it too is keeping your linebackers clean to be able to free flow to the outside to make those tackles. So that's where I'm hoping that we'll see the biggest improvement simply is on first and second down in the run game, allowing linebackers to tackle a little bit more.
Absolutely. Cam, what are your thoughts on the Hankins?
Like we said, we've been screaming for a big daddy in the middle for how long? A true one technique. Nothing against Carlos Watkins or anything like that. And the other thing, because of what happened this last game with Forniak and Waletzko, we're not taking anybody off this 53 to bring him on. The other thing I love about it, this guy's gone through camp. He's played. This isn't a Jason Peters situation, or as we said, Dontari Poe coming off an injury. This is someone that has been through camp, has been playing. We get to grab him, plug him in, and he's good to go. Yeah. So it's making my defense-loving heart very happy that we got that run defense was the biggest weakness, or I would say our largest weakness. I still have a little bit of issue with some of the corner play, but I would like to have a more run defensive tackling corner, maybe get Kelvin Joseph more involved with that. But no, I think it was fantastic. And then we had another signing which was pretty quiet. And I don't know if people like kind of looked into it enough, but that's that corner, Kendall Sheffield. And I don't know if people know, this is a Dan Quinn guy. He played with Dan Quinn. And if you look at his stats, his snap counts when he was with Dan Quinn, and then when Dan Quinn left, he became like 0. And so this is definitely one of Dan Quinn's guys that he went out and grabbed. And hopefully he's going to be like a Fowler Dan Quinn grab or a Malik Hooker grab and not some of the others that we've seen. But
yeah, for me, like, we'll have to see what he does. I think that's a depth guy. You know, we lost a cornerback. We're kind of trying to fill him. So we'll see what he does. I agree with you guys on the Hankins thing. That is 100%. I stole this term from Brian Broaddus because I loved it. Is he said all the time, we need a trash can full of dirt in the middle, like just somebody right there that's hard to move. But I don't even consider Hankins a trash can full of dirt. Like, he is a dumpster full of dirt. He's way too big to be a trash can.
He's a whole damn cement truck.
Yeah, that dude needs a wide load sticker. No offense to him, but like when he goes on the field, he needs a wide load sticker going on there because he is a big dude. So I absolutely love it. And you guys are spot on with the analysis of what he can bring to this defense, and hopefully, you know, provides that guy who just a block eater. Just take up double teams, allow the linebackers to kind of run free, allow Leighton Vander Esch, Anthony Barge to run free. Because we know when Leighton Vander Esch is free and he's not having to take on blocks because he's not great at getting off of blocks.
Right.
We know that he can make tackles. And, you know, so hopefully that allows him to run more free and he doesn't have to worry about that. And he can get to the edges because that left side is where offenses have really attacked in the run game for us. So yeah, I think it's a good signing. Absolutely. So let's get into some rumors because the trade deadline is not done. We have
November 1st, correct?
Yes, November 1st. Okay. That's when the trade deadline is. So it's kind of getting close to the weekend. So I don't know if anything's going to happen for the weekend from now to the weekend, just because teams are getting ready to travel or getting ready for games and everything. So they're not really going to look for a player to bring in to play this week. So if you're looking for something, it might be Monday, early Tuesday morning or something like that. But let's get into a couple rumors. The rumor that's kind of floated around recently is Jerry Jeudy. And in trading for Jerry Jeudy, the Denver Broncos their season has not gone as planned at all. And a couple of moves they made have backfired a little bit. So
more than a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah.
A lot of bit.
Yeah.
And
unlimited almost.
Russell Wilson doing high knees on that plane over to London.
We can say they made a dangerous
dangerous trade.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jerry Jeudy's available. One, what are your thoughts on getting Jerry Jeudy, and what do you think you'd have to give up to get someone like Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's so young, and he's on a contract still, a rookie contract. That's really valuable, you know. Yeah. And he's talented, so I would imagine the asking price is pretty high if they're moving off from him. I know I would ask for a lot. I kind of tend to think that the Cowboys aren't going to do something like this. I mean, just simply, you know, there's lots of these names that are kind of thrown about a little bit. I kind of feel like this is their feelings, right? I feel like, you know, they feel like they've invested quite a bit at wide receiver already, and that they're waiting for some of that investment to kind of blossom, which I think it will. I mean, I think, you know, Gallup is going to get better. I haven't given up on Tolbert yet. I just think that there's a roster construction issue with Tolbert, right? Tolbert is a guy who didn't play football until, you know, late in high school, which means he didn't get bare minimum fundamentals in the sport, which means that it's hard to teach a guy who was a star college wide receiver how to play special teams. And if you can't play special teams, and if you're not the, you know, third best wide receiver on the team or higher at this point, then there's not really a way for you to get on the field. So I actually think that the thing that's hurt Tolbert the most is that Noah Brown has been so good this year, because it's such a no-brainer. If, you know, the tie goes to the runner, and one of, you know, these two guys are playing very similarly, and Noah Brown, on top of the experience, also gives you special teams prowess. I mean, that's just you're going to dress him over, you're going to dress Tolbert. So all that is a way of saying I think that they've invested big money at the spots that they're going to at wide receiver, with the idea that they're probably going to do the same with CeeDee Lamb, and that's why they're sitting on a lot of this cap money, is to roll it over to pay those guys. So and kudos to Marcus, my podcast partner. He brought up something that I felt like was a more realistic kind of wide receiver trade, which was Cedric Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And they just left us to go to Miami, but they're not using him at all. And it was.
Can we have him back?
I mean, honestly, it's one of those situations where you could basically get him back for a cheap rental, and if he plays well, you could have him back for another year. I think the whole thing would cost you like $9 million or something for 2 years. And on top of that, it's a realistic player who you could dress, who could perform in your offense, and it at least buys you time to kind of wait out a little bit more to get Gallup healthy, to get Tolbert to develop a little bit. I just think that the idea of going for a huge swing wide receiver, there's names out there that have been associated with the Cowboys, but I think that these names are being associated with the Cowboys simply because they are wide receivers who are available for trade, and everybody's assuming that the Cowboys are going to trade for a wide receiver. So I like the idea of having a Jerry Jeudy or a Brandon Cooks, but I think the reality of what it takes to get them is probably more than the Cowboys are willing to spend, and I don't necessarily fault them for that, simply because it's a lot of circumstance. You've done well with these draft picks. The premium ones are the ones you kind of are a little bit wary about giving away.
Yeah, I like the Cedric Wilson idea. I really do, just because I like Cedric Wilson. I didn't want to let him go and walk in. I just don't know if they do that, because that's really bad pie in the face to the front office. That you could have re-signed this guy, you didn't, and then you got to give up draft capital to get him back. And it's kind of like, will Stephen Jones take the pie in the face and the ego hit to do that?
Well, at the same time, all he would have to do was give away, I think, his comp pick that he would receive for Cedric Wilson.
Okay.
So there's a way you could spin this as, look how genius this is. I
got him on the cheap
for what I earned giving him away. So
right.
There's certainly, you're not wrong. There is a certain amount of admitting that they made a mistake, but at the same time, Miami's doing the same thing too by basically not ever playing him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're doing that because they have such a great wide receiver core, but still. No,
I get it. My guy is Brandon Cooks. I would love Brandon Cooks here. I know that it's big
trying to break
money.
that record, huh? That Eric Dickerson record for most trades by a player. Right?
Yeah, seriously. I just like Brandon Cooks. I think he can be dynamic in this offense. Cam, what are your thoughts on any trade rumors for Jeudy or Cooks or Cedric Wilson?
I mean, okay, if we're playing in fantasy world, they can have Gallimore in a second. They can have Tolbert in a second if you're going to give me Jerry Jeudy. If we're going to live in this fantasy world, we're not going to think about the fact that we would have to pay Diggs, CD, and Jerry in the same year, in that same time frame. I do love the fact that you would also have the 5th-year option on Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, he could stagger.
Would it also create a contest, a competition
Absolutely.
as to if there's one big contract, who's going to get it? Is it going to be Jeudy or is it going to be CD?
Well, whoever gets the first, which I would think, just hypothetically, if this happened, whoever gets the first one, probably CD, because he's been here. They think they'll probably be loyal to CD and be like, here's your contract. And then Jerry Jeudy probably comes up behind like, well, I want more than CD. Right. I want more than he was making, so there might be that aspect of it. We do have we
got a super chat.
Yeah. Cedric Wilson ain't coming back. Catboy's ego would be hurt.
Honestly, I don't know how realistic this is, but I think if he could convince himself that he's a genius by using his own comp pick for that player.
I didn't even think about that. So I
think that would ease his ego.
That's really smart.
That would definitely ease the ego. And then you could be like, hey, it's just like we signed him for this amount of money. So
I'm I'm not a super fan of Cooks's contract that he just signed.
Well, yeah, that's the
to
one
come
issue
here.
with Cooks.
Yeah,
right?
that's the
Is
issue
that
with Cooks,
at this point,
And
like
his age too.
everyone's pushed all that money back and further back in his contract,
Right.
and suddenly next year he's going to be guaranteed I think it's $18 million or something
Yeah.
like that.
No.
But
That's
if you're
way
paying
more than
if
they
you're
want to
paying
pay.
Christian Kirk $18 million, I'm fine with paying Brandon Cooks $18 million
Well, I mean, Christian Kirk looked like he was about to earn that money early in that
for a
contract.
couple
Right.
weeks. Yeah, he
It's kind of
did.
tapered off a little bit, but yeah, listen,
Right.
I mean, I don't know how y'all feel about this, and I'm not trying to hash up old wounds for anybody, but I'm of the mind that I was okay with not paying Cooper $20 million a year, and that trade to me didn't seem as outrageous as I think a lot of people thought it was. So I'm certainly okay with not paying Brandon Cooks $18 million a year. And I like, but if you get like all those other price points that Cook was available for all those other trades, I totally would have done, because I think that, it made a lot more sense. I think it's just this round of trades where you look at that guaranteed money and you're like, everyone's been avoiding this whole time, because he's just been one of those guys. There's something about his game where, he's not Will Fuller. He's better and more available than Will Fuller, but in that same vein of like, okay, he's either going to be a great field stretcher for you or he's going to be on the sideline. And like, and I don't know if I ever could get the amount of value. I like the player a lot, but I don't know if I could get that of $18 million worth of value out of him.
I can understand that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cam, you want to give your hypo?
Okay. So we're going to stay in make-believe world. And if you could poach one player, any player off of any team that you would feel would guarantee us a run at the Super Bowl, who would it be?
All right, I'm going to give two answers here, because
you can go on both sides of the ball.
One, I'm going to give you the actual answer, like that it betrays my heart and my fandom in a large way. But I think if you're looking for the correct answer, I think it's Patrick Mahomes. It's like you put Patrick Mahomes and the Dallas Cowboys. Really, I think Josh Allen is probably right there too. But I think you put Patrick Mahomes and the Dallas Cowboys, and things would be good. But I love Dak too much to do that to us. So, and I don't think that Dak is not the problem. I don't think Dak is the issue here. So to me, I think the other answer here is, I thought about wide receiver. You thought about, what if you put an elite wide receiver, how much that would help. Honest to God, can you imagine this defense if Aaron Donald was the three tech of this defense? I mean, can you imagine what this would be like if you had Aaron Donald, DeMarcus Lawrence on the inside of a pass rush, on the outside you had Micah Parsons, and then pick your fourth guy. I don't care. Armstrong, Fowler, however you want to do it. I just feel like it would solve your run game issues. I mean, I don't know that. Yeah, right. I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I just think that you put Donald in there, and no one's ever going to want to throw the football ever again. Like it would basically be terrifying. So that's my hard answer, and my quiet answer for correctness sake, I think, is, look, Patrick Mahomes is a generational player. There's just no way around it.
Right.
And I think that Dak is a Super Bowl capable winning quarterback as well. I'm riding and dying with Dak.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to give a good answer here.
No, I get you. If I had to do it, and we're going offense and defense now, I was just thinking defense. Defense, I'm right with you. It's Aaron Donald. I don't think there's a question about it. You pair Aaron Donald with Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Odigizua, or you throw out Dorrance Armstrong, or however you want to do the line, like it's just unblockable. Because you can't double team them all. It's impossible.
And you get that inside outside that is like just impossible there.
Because you go outside, you can't run outside because Parsons is going to chase you down. You can't escape into the middle of the pocket because Aaron Donald just blew up the entire interior. So
honestly, Donald would be the hardest one to block, right? Because you could do all that attention, but there's just nothing you could do about Donald if you're also trying to give attention to Parsons on the outside. So
exactly. So offense. If I'm going to offense, I get the whole Patrick Mahomes. I get that. I'm going to say Tyreek Hill.
That's
You
fair.
give me a burner like that
Mhm.
who's going to stretch the field, open it up for guys underneath. Dak can throw it deep. We know that Dak has a great deep ball. Yeah, give me Tyreek Hill. I think he would open up this offense and just make it so explosive that you couldn't stop him. So that would be my answer.
That's a good one.
Okay, so offense side of the ball, Tyreek Hill came to mind, Jamar Chase came to mind, but I got to go with the big man out in LA, and it's Cooper Kupp.
That's a good one.
Put
That
that man there. That's
a really good
what
one,
I
too.
need. That's what I need there.
I was screaming to draft him, but
No.
nobody was listening to me that year.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, yeah. And, being a Washington kid and he's a Washington kid, I was like, yeah. TC, Stephon Diggs was right there in my list of ones that I would also consider. Because I was thinking wide receiver, I wasn't thinking I'm keeping Dak there, but I would take Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. Let's keep it real.
Yeah. I love that. I understand that.
Yeah. I went round and round about on the defensive side of the ball. And, I was thinking a big fatty in the middle, like Vita Vea, something of that sort there. And I hate to say it because hasn't been playing well this year, but I want that other corner, and I wanted Jalen Ramsey.
Okay.
But he's just, I don't know. He's having a bad year.
He looks like he's on the downturn, but
he does. But just give me a like Jair Alexander, someone on that other side of the corner because
lock down
Anthony Brown.
side,
I want to lock down the other side. Anthony Brown. I need him to finish tackles. I need him to maybe be more of a run stopper. But he has much improved. So, but yeah, that'd be mine on the other side.
And I just want to say this, Chris, you're spot on. Like, I think you can write Mims and Elijah Moore off. The Jets aren't trading with us. They're, like you said, there's bad blood. I don't think that Joe Douglas and Stephen Jones are going to do any kind of trades anytime soon. There's a lot of bad blood there, so I
wouldn't trade with Joe Douglas if I was them either.
Yeah.
Honestly, from what I hear, there's a lot of bad blood around the league for Joe Douglas and a lot of folks.
Well, when we say, hey, what do you want for Jamal Adams, and your answer is Zach Martin, like, all right, come on, let's be a little bit realistic. Let's stay in the reality here. Surtain, that's another good one. Yeah.
Or Sauce Gardner. After seeing what I've seen out of him so far, I'll take some Sauce too.
Yeah, that guy.
But I was definitely, when I was thinking of that question and thinking of everything with it, I was definitely thinking in the middle, an Aaron Donald, a Vita Vea, something like that. Now I got to wander a little bit further out since we have. I'm not saying that Hankins is one of those two by any means, but I feel so much better about our interior line. And look at the depth we had. Who would have thought we'd have this kind of depth on an interior line after so long?
There you go, Cam.
Oh, TC, were you here when we talked about LVE earlier?
If you don't know, Landon, LVE is Cam's football husband.
My football husband.
Oh.
And TC is
a little jealous.
Yeah. But TC is married and not to me, so that makes this even more complicated.
He's got nothing to comment on.
Right.
I actually was at the Dallas draft that year that was in Dallas that he got drafted, and so I was with KD and Pat actually right when he came up to be interviewed for just like a gaggle of things, and I've been around football players. I mean, I go to training camp every year, so I get a feel of what the human size is and how shocking it can be. And Leighton Vander Esch is absolutely enormous for
He is a
being a
mess.
linebacker. That was the thing when he showed up, and I knew all his the stats and the numbers and everything, but when he got up there and was standing there, it was just shocking that large of a man was able to run and do anything. And so it just kind of really puts you into perspective what an NFL linebacker looks like.
You got to be big to go hunt wolves,
Yeah.
Well, and feed bears with our bare hands,
Right?
just for fun, but yeah. So.
Cam, you got the injury report?
Sure. No, I don't.
Go.
It wasn't out yet today when I got over here. Let me take a peek.
I know that it sounds like Zeke, Noah Brown, and Malik Hooker are all working with the training crew in the morning, with the possibility that Brown may get into 11-on-11 at some point today.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about Brown just because of the depth behind him. There's not much there. I'm team sit Zeke a week and let him get the 2 weeks off with the bye week. Like, I'm full on board with letting him sit out this week. Noah Brown worries me because what do we got behind him? What is that?
Simi's out. Yeah.
Simi's out. So that's going to force Tolbert to play,
Right.
Good news there, right? Is that you can add Tolbert in if Brown can't make it. You sit him down, and you've brought up Damone Clark, who got his he's going to have his first opportunity to play, and he's going to be mostly a special teams guy anyway. So hopefully he can maybe step in and kind of take some of the spots that you may be missing with Noah Brown if he has to sit this week.
Yeah, and I believe they've brought up Nahshon Wright, right, for this game. I
haven't heard that. Is that
I heard that
confirmed?
this morning. Yeah,
that makes some sense.
I heard this morning that he's active. So
yeah, so he'll play a lot of special teams too, and then I imagine just based on what we've seen so far that it'll be Bland first off the bench, obviously, to take care of Lewis. And if anything happens to Bland, then likely they'll slide Brown inside to nickel, and then either Joseph or Wright will play on the outside, probably Joseph.
Yeah, I am a little bit interested to see how the injury report comes out today and tomorrow, just because I know yesterday Steele was limited. It might not be a big issue. It might just be, a little knock and first practice you're limited and stuff like that. But just something to keep an eye on with Terrence Steele, just to make sure he's good to go. They
still don't have anything out yet.
Yeah,
we don't have a current for today, I should say.
Okay. Yeah. So it was just making sure that these little guys at the Knicks they're getting back and they're okay. Because with let's go out. Would you have to if Terrence still can't go, and I doubt that that's the case just because he's limited. But let's say he can't go, like, does that put Peters at right tackle? Like, what?
I would assume so.
What are your options besides that?
I don't know that you
not
have
Josh Ball.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why right tackle would be an issue if they had no problem putting him at left guard. He played left. He played way more right tackle more recently before this season than he had played left guard. Now, I mean, what I would bring up to most folks is that it's probably easier to go from left tackle to left guard than it is from left tackle to right tackle, simply because the footwork's backwards.
Yeah.
But I think that it's probably something that he could handle. I don't know what we don't know is how much he's been working there. Like, how much does he get work there in practice? Is he considered to be the swing tackle right now? I mean, they obviously have some sort of plan. So,
getting a fight in the comments over you,
right?
I know they did work Peters at right tackle a little bit in training camp, like when he first got signed. I know that they used him. I just don't know how much in practice since the season started they've been doing that. I'm not sure. Let me actually bring up a scenario before we move on. A scenario that was brought up to me by Dan Rupert about Jason Peters and his thoughts on why it's not moving. He's saying that maybe they want to keep Jason Peters fresh for the playoffs just in case something happens. Because it sounds like their plan is when Tyron comes back, they've said a couple times when Tyron's coming back and he's going to play. So just taking it based on their word, we'll have to see what happens. But it seems like when Tyron comes back and he's ready to go, they want him back at left tackle, move Tyler Smith back inside. Now, say we get into the playoffs and Tyron Smith goes down again. He gets another injury, which isn't outside of the realm of possibility.
Absolutely not.
now you have a fresh Jason Peters who hasn't got a lot of wear and tear, and he's ready to go for when you really need players like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was referring to when I was talking about what's going to go down on that left side, because I think that I think you're at a stabilization point, and that's what this whole thing has been, just to kind of, okay, let's get to the bye and then figure out where we are from there. Cowboys are in a great spot. I mean, look, if they let's hope they win this game this weekend against Chicago. If they do, I mean, I don't know who else was here, but I would have been shocked if you would have told me that the Cowboys would have been 6-2 going into the bye, even if Dak was playing. So the fact that they did all this with Dak being injured and with Tyron Smith being hurt, I mean, that's incredible. So I think for them, you get to the bye week, and then it's time to really figure out, okay, we need to kind of get a grip on exactly what the timeline is for Tyron. And if it's going to be in the next few weeks, maybe we should start getting ready for that inevitability by kind of getting Tyler some snaps inside, giving Jason some more work on the outside. But I mean, again, like, I think the thing that kind of throws the monkey wrench and all that is that I feel like McGovern is playing better left guard than what you've seen out of at least Jason Peters. So you need to either have Jason Peters playing better left tackle than McGovern is playing left guard. It's kind of a complicated mix. I do think that if they find a way to kind of transition Tyler Smith back into guard, they need to make sure that Jason Peters can hold up for all the snaps that he's going to take from now until Tyron comes back, because that'll be another set. So I do think there's going to be an interesting kind of, well, when do we make this switch? We don't want to overexpose Peters, but we also don't want to have just a very sudden switch necessarily once Tyron comes back. It'll be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. If they're going to do the switch, the best time to do it is during the bye week. Get full practices for both of them in the new spots and see how they react to those that switch.
Well, and they did it last year too, right? They kind of, I mean, much to my chagrin, honestly, I hated a lot of the changes they did last year. But as far as precedent for when they would do it, I think it points to the fact that the bye week will likely be a week where they tinker with this a little bit. And this year they actually have a reason to tinker with it, because they've got it will be a moving pieces shifting situation. Last year they broke what ain't, they tried to fix what ain't broke, and they broke the board.
So we're going players. They want to start grabbing any coaches they want.
Chris is on a roll today.
The question I was posed was player, guys. Yeah. So look, if we're going to go there,
coaches, then, give me Bill Belichick and let's roll.
Yeah. I'll take Andy Reid as offensive coordinator if you want to do that. I mean, okay.
Definitely.
Mike McDaniel is run game coordinator. How about that?
There you go.
Simply doing that. That'd be great.
Definitely.
Right.
So let's get into this Bears game, and kind of figure out what we're up against in this game right before the bye. I've heard a lot. Landon, you said it. I said it yesterday in another show. Cowboys going 6-2 into the bye. I don't want to be like, hey, we're overlooking the Bears completely. We're automatically giving us a win. Like, I get it. It's the NFL. All teams are good. We saw what the Bears did on Monday nights. They have a really good defense. They have the number one rushing attack in the NFL. They're also, I think, 3-4 right now. So that it's not always translating into wins for them, but they're not the worst team in the league. No. So let's give our thoughts. Cam, what are your thoughts on this Bears game and the challenges they present?
Well, number one, it's Justin Fields, and he presents the same problem that Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones did. You've got a very mobile quarterback that we're going to have to, take care of. We're going to have to I think we got burnt on using too high safeties in that situation with a mobile quarterback, and that maybe we need to drop Curse down and bring him in to stop some of that, to help with that. Montgomery, he can run the ball. We not gonna put that past him. The guy can run. And then what would a show be if I didn't mention at least one, if not two, of my Huskies? They do have Pettis out there, who's a pretty good speedster at wide receiver. We're going to have to watch for him. So, but I think what we need to do with Justin Fields is I think that we need to disguise our defense and not let him know, because he is young. He's not going to read the defense right away, and he's not going to react well if we disguise some of it again, for him, that those mistakes that we know are very Justin Fields like will happen. So.
Yeah, definitely. Landon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think, really the passing game is not a terrible threat to the Cowboys. They really need to kind of play the run pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with the idea that you should probably maybe spin your safeties a little bit and just to kind of give Fields something to look at post snap and try to kind of sort through that. I think that they need to really make sure that they've got a plan for what they're going to do when Justin Fields runs the football, and not just like having a spy on him, but like, they're going to have some designed runs. I think they're going to look at what Philly did to Parsons to try to make him the trigger guy, make him the pitch guy, and target, leave him unblocked, try to see if they can make him wrong every time, and I think that is effective in short segments, but you can't make an offense out of that. You can't
Right.
run zone read over and over and over again against an NFL defense and win. So,
and especially this defense.
Yeah, and so I think that I think likely what you're going to see is the Cowboys loading up to stop the run, and then Chicago trying to play off of that quick early with play action passes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. No offense to the Bears, I just don't know that they have the horses to keep up with that. I think Pettis is a good complementary piece. I think Kmet is a tight end that would be really good, but these guys are the featured pieces on this offense outside of Mooney, and I just don't know that that's enough. I worry about the defense a little bit more, I think,
Right.
or at least I did before the trade yesterday.
Right.
And now I'm like, I mean, who's rushing the passer for them? So, I think offensively for the Cowboys, they've got to find a way. They don't have to, honestly. There's lots of. I think there's several paths to victory here. I think it could be a very similar game to the Lions game, or it could be a game where Dak is a little bit more comfortable than he was last week, and the Cowboys defense gets a couple stops early, and the Cowboys offense scores points. And then if the Cowboys offense gets ahead, like if the Cowboys get ahead by more than a touchdown in this game at any point, Chicago's in real trouble, because they don't have a means to. I mean, honestly, I think that they would probably just still run the football because I don't know that they have the means to kind of play a shootout game with the Cowboys. So especially against our defense, like I said. So I think that we're going to see a lot of run game regardless, unless the Cowboys are able to kind of really stretch a lead. And if that's the case, then this game could get actually pretty ugly in favor of the Cowboys.
Yeah, because their center's questionable right now. The right tackle, Borum's questionable.
Yep.
Lucas Patrick is. This is a very beat up offensive line right now.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to do is for the Cowboys, you're early on in the game, you're going to have to load up and you're going to have to say, Justin Fields, beat us with your arm, beat our single coverage, beat Trayvon Diggs, beat Anthony Brown. Like, can you do it? They did a good job on watching. I get the RPO, but they did a good job. Jalen Hurts had 9 carries for 27 yards. He did not kill us with his legs, but I get the RPO. They had some good plays with the RPO and everything like that. That's something you got to watch. I'm a big proponent of every time a team runs an RPO, you just smash your helmet into the quarterback's chest.
Right.
And they're not going to do that for very much longer because they're going to be like, hey, we don't want to get our quarterback hurt. because, hey, that play worked, but then our quarterback took 10 seconds to get up from the ground. So just hit the quarterback. I'm a very big proponent of that. So I don't think they're going to have the muscle to go over and just run us over and control the clock. They might have a drive or two where they were sitting there like, man, this drive's taking forever, because they are, like a couple of games in the past where the Eagles did it a drive, the Lions did it a drive where they just ran the ball down the field. And for one drive, it looked like, man, we cannot stop. They might have a drive like that. I get it, but I don't like Landon said, like Cam said, it's not going to be enough to keep up with what we're going to be able to do. I do think Dak is going to feel more comfortable. Their defense is good, but it got worse without Robert Quinn because he takes a lot of attention. And so you don't have I know he only had 1 sack. I know he only has 7 pressures in 7 games, but
he was
their best sack guy. Like he that was
attention. Yeah.
As bad as he was the guy that created all the pressure. So I mean, how's that going to happen now? That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Another big thing is if the Cowboys can get that lead, we know what this defense does to quarterbacks when they get a lead. And it's just all out, go after and kill the quarterback. And if they can do this, you got to remember Justin Fields is very prone to making mistakes. And he also, in 7 games this year, Justin Fields has 11 fumbles.
Yeah.
11 fumbles. He's very prone to dropping the ball. Our defense is very opportunistic. We go after the ball. Sometimes Sam Williams just walks up to you and snatches your purse like he did. Just give it to me, just like he did to Goff. So
it's classic Debo. That's my bike situation.
Exactly. Or he just picks up your running back and body slams him.
That's right.
So once this defense can just tee off on you, it's really over. And I don't care what offense you are. Like, if this defense gets a chance to tee off on you, they're going to tee off on you. There's no offensive line in this league that can block this offensive line, because the two of the best offensive lines, the Eagles and the Lions, 2 of the best offensive lines. Lions only gave up 7 sacks all season coming into the game. Eagles gave up 4 to us. Lions gave up 5. Like, when this defense gets rolling, they're just impossible to block. So I think that it may be close for a little bit. Maybe like, hey, we sputtered out a little bit at first, what's going on. But I think the offense will get its groove and kind of just pull away, and then the defense will do its job. And it will be a little bit more than a close game at the end of the game.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
So let's give some bold predictions first. Cam, do you got a bold prediction for this game?
I do. Is TC listening? Because it's this week. It's this week. Now that we got that big daddy in the middle, and we talked about how Barr and LVE are going to be free to run around, my man's he's getting an interception this week. It's the week.
LVE is it just a pick, or is it a pick 6?
Ooh, that's a big boy to run that far. Shoot, let's go for it. It's a pick 6.
Bold.
Why not? We're gonna do it. Yeah, we'll go pick 6.
LVE with the pick 6.
Yeah.
Landon, you got a bold prediction for us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how bold this is. I guess simply because it hasn't happened so far this year. But I think this is the game that the Cowboys get 300 yards passing, which is crazy that they haven't had 300 yards passing yet this season. But I do think Dax was, really slinging it at the end of that game. It looked like he felt a lot more comfortable. I think that, we're going to get opportunities here. And I think that they're going to try very heavily to stop our run game as well. And I think, they're likely going to be without Zeke. So I do think that they'll probably, because they can, especially if the pass rush isn't, intense, I think they'll have the opportunity to throw the football a little bit more this week. And I think that this is the first time in the season, oddly enough, that Dak eclipses 300 yards passing.
I like it. So while we're doing this, I'm going to give my bold prediction, but put your bold predictions in the chat and we'll share some of them as we go along. My bold prediction is I'm going Trayvon Diggs with 2 picks this week. I think that, like I said, Justin Fields makes some mistakes in his passing game. He's going to be under pressure, I believe. So give me Trayvon Diggs with 2 interceptions, bringing him his total up to 5 for the season. There was big questions if he was going to reach 6 or more this year after his 11 interception year last year. I think he's going to eclipse 6, and getting 2 to go to 5. That's a good start for the season. So
I got one more after Cam. Cam gives her. Did you give yours already, Cam?
No, I did. That was LV's.
LV, that's right.
Yeah.
My other ones along those lines, honestly, is, I guess I hadn't realized this, but Micah Parsons doesn't have an interception yet in his career.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna suggest that maybe he gets an interception in this game. Maybe on a self-tip situation, or not a drop back and grab situation, but like a ball tip and then he picks it up, sort of kind of thing.
Those are the best. I love those. So that would be awesome. And I really want to see him running the ball. He was a running back in high school.
Yeah.
So I want to see. Let me ask you. Okay, goal line situation. Zeke's not in today. Would you be opposed to putting Parsons on the goal line? Give him the ball?
Yes, simply because I'm afraid that somebody would get hurt. And that he could potentially kill somebody on that defense. So no, I think absolutely I like giving big boys the ball, let's see Hankins carry. I mean, I'm all for that.
Oh
man. Hey, here you go, Landon. I heard you on the Locked On podcast. You asked Marcus, hey, about the Farniak's injured now. We're not going to see probably that fullback package anymore. Why not throw Hankins out there as the fullback? I don't know how far fast he can run. But
that's a good question, right? But I guarantee you that, I know that Parsons has already been heavily lobbying Kellen Moore to try to get the football at some point. I can't believe that more offensive linemen aren't in his ear, at least trying to get in there. So, I mean, we haven't seen a Jason Peters fullback situation yet either.
Right. He's athletic.
He's an athletic dude. So I would
with
love
the Smash Bros and the Smash Bros out there with him.
He was an actual tight end. So I would love to see him catch a pass.
Or even put him just for a play. Throw him at left tackle and throw Tyler Smith at fullback. Let him pull around the side, because you can see Tyler. We've seen Tyler Smith pulling out to the outside and leading blocking. That guy can move.
And look, I mean, the truth of the matter is we have Peters, so you could always just throw Peters in at left guard and give the true fullback on this team an opportunity to go back to his native position, McGovern, and let him do the job that made him famous. So I'm always okay with that too.
I'm definitely and if down the line, if that's the move that we put Tyler Smith back at left guard and bring in Peters, or you got Tyron Smith is back, we've got to get some Hulk packages again.
Oh, I 100% think that would definitely be part of it, right? Is that you get the opportunity to have your movable McGovern, we should call him the MacGuffin, honestly. He just solves all these problems. You just put him wherever you need to do stuff. I think that would definitely be part of it.
All right, so we got our bold predictions in. Let's go. Let's give some score predictions. Let's Cam, you've been pretty bold with some of your score predictions in the past. What do you got for us?
I dialed this one back a little. I dialed it back a little, not a lot. 31-9.
31-9. Okay, so first 30-point game.
It's a good defense, but I mean, like you said, now that Gregory's gone, I just
Quinn?
the other one that left us. I'm still on vacation mode. Now that Quinn's gone out of there, they've even got my guy Kyler Gordon, but I still think that the secondary, even with Brisker, I'm just not quite seeing it. So I'm going 31-9.
Oh, 31-9. Landon.
Brisker's got some. I like Gregory's pick right there. That's actually mine. 28-14.
Okay.
I think Brisker's got some Donovan Wilson to him, right? Like a very kind of big boomer bust guy, right? Either making the play or the plays being made on him. I'm going with the Cowboys 28-14. It may not even be that close, but it may be one of those things where the Cowboys are winning 21-7 for a good portion of this game, and then some last quarter, stat padding going on.
Yeah.
I tend to think, like I said, I think there's lots of different paths here between these two teams. I think, to me, the two that stick out to me are a similar game to what we had with the Lions, right? Where it's close, but you can tell the Cowboys are the better team. And then as the game wears on, the talent shines through and they win big, even though it was a close game most of the game. Or a situation where the Cowboys are able to kind of get a couple of, what's the Rams game, right? Where they get a turnover, they score, they get up big, except the difference is the Rams can throw the football and at least somewhat this year. But Chicago can't quite do that. So that game in that case could get really ugly. And if that's the case, I mean, that would be honestly the best. If the Cowboys, really the best thing the Cowboys could do is get out early in this game, score a bunch of points, get a comfortable lead, and then frankly shut some folks down. Get into the fourth quarter and maybe not Cooper Rush, because you want Dak to kind of continue to get some work done. And frankly, in a situation where they don't have like a truly threatening pass rusher, it may be better just to leave Dak out there and let him throw the football a little bit. But if the game gets out of hand, let's put D-Law down. Let's put Parsons down. It would be great to have the ability to give some of these guys, because of the fruits of our success, to be able to give some of these guys the opportunity to have an extended breather beyond just the bye week. So 28-14 is my pick. I don't know if it'll be close or not, but I do feel like at the end the Cowboys will be victorious.
Yeah, see what Damone Clark can do out there if we can get a big lead.
Right. But getting Mike off the field's not easy.
Yeah.
No.
That guy looks
that's why you have D-Law, right? You got D-Law is going to have to drag him off the field.
Right.
So that'll work.
Just have Hankins hold on, pick him up and hold on to him on the sideline.
Right.
Good job, Hankins. That's why we traded him.
Jesus, carry him around.
I'm going to go 34-14. I think the Lions, the Bears score at the end, a touchdown at the end, a meaningless touchdown to make it 14 at the end. So it's really not all that close. It's kind of a blowout. I think that Dak's going to look really sharp. I agree with you with the 300-yard game. I think Dak's going to look sharp. The offense is going to get rolling. Pollard's going to have a couple big runs. And we're kind of going to roll into the bye feeling really good about ourselves. Yeah.
Something to keep in mind too, that I think I talked about early, but have lost in the whole week of this, is how difficult it is for a young team like the Bears to be playing away on Monday Night Football on the East Coast, fly back to Central Time Zone, and then fly down to Dallas to play another away game on a short week. That's tough, So I think that kind of is something to keep in mind when kind of squaring this game on what you think is going to happen, is that this isn't a situation like the Lions where they're coming off a bye week and had a whole extra week to prepare for your offense and your defense. If anything, it's the opposite. The Bears had the least amount of time basically you're allowed, short of a Thursday night game, to prepare for the Cowboys. And again, having to play on the road in both of those games can be really, really hard on a young team.
Absolutely. And I just want to bring that just brought something into my mind that I want to bring up is, after the bye, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, and I apologize, but after the bye, we're at Lambeau, and then we're at Minnesota Vikings, and then we're home on a short week for Thanksgiving for the Giants. Okay, if you were Mike McCarthy, this is your call. You go up to Lambeau, you have that game. Would you stay up north for the Vikings game, just practice up north instead of flying back to Dallas and then flying back up north and then flying back on a short week to Dallas for the home game against the Giants on Thanksgiving? Would you stay 2 weeks up north?
No,
I don't know. I don't think so. Simply because I think it's a good thought. And I think if you are not the Cowboys, that makes sense. But since you're the Cowboys and this is something that you do every year, I think that you're inoculated to it a little bit. I don't disagree with that strategy overall, though. I think that is something that I think more teams should take advantage of when they're on short week turnarounds on road games in normal Thursday night situations. But I think for the Cowboys, it's so built in that it's like, you know what, let's not mess with what we're normally doing and kind of keep it clean.
I was just thinking,
like I said, I like that idea in general.
Yeah.
Lambeau's
Those flights
right
aren't
there.
that long, but those flights aren't that long.
Yeah, I mean, I was just
compared
Lambeau
to if you're going
and the
coast
Vikings
coast.
are right there in that area.
Makes sense.
Don't want to go back and forth. Just stay up
Right.
there. And like but I get both arguments. I get both.
Yeah,
I get both sides.
totally.
Absolutely. Okay, so we got the predictions.
And they already have snow in Minnesota. Just to
Do they
point that
really?
out. Yes.
I'm glad there's a
So,
dome.
No, right.
I hope it's not too cold in Lambeau.
It is a great stadium. Absolutely loved it. But now that they already have snow, I don't know if I'm going up for the game.
Not a snow person, Cam?
I got enough snow last year when I went home for Christmas, you know? And there was 12 feet on the ground up there on the mountain at one point in time. I was done.
Okay. So we do appreciate everybody. It is a noon game. If you're Central Time, Gregory.
Yes.
It is a noon Central game. The early game. Well, not the earliest game because they do have a London game with the Broncos and
how do they keep
Russell
getting?
Wilson.
They're done with any kind of prime or special game after this, right?
Well,
I mean,
they have
seriously.
their own prime game by themselves on Sunday. But it's early, so not everybody's going to wake up for that. But
Yeah.
That Russell Wilson.
I'm just saying they have been,
stretches in the aisles.
Right. They need to just quit highlighting them. So they need to be flexed.
Yes,
that's all I'm saying.
A reminder for everybody about the upcoming game. We still have not had somebody win the competition of correctly predicting the score of the game. Nobody has won the competition. I think we're like 5 weeks in of doing the competition. We haven't done it every week.
We got some T-shirts to give away, people.
We got a free T-shirt from Twisted Gorilla. Your choice of anybody who correctly predicts the score of the game on Sunday between the Cowboys and the Bears. I will put the Twitter post out shortly here after this show or tomorrow, depending on when I get to it, but I will get it before the game. All you got to do is comment on it with the score and like and share, and you are entered into winning. If you correctly pick the score, if you're the only one, you win. But if you're multiple people, we'll choose between the winners randomly of who wins. But yes, we are definitely looking to give away this free T-shirt, but nobody seems to want it. So
we tried. We've been
maybe
trying.
just the Cowboys don't want you to have it because we've had some really odd scores lately.
Right.
But we're definitely looking forward to giving away that shirt. There you go. That's an odd score. So maybe you'll get it, TC, because that is an odd score. We'll have to see how it goes. Any parting thoughts, Landon, before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing I would comment on is just that it seems not disappointing, but kind of a little sad that we yeah, I know, right? Like I only usually do a half an hour at a time. And I'll comment on that real quick. It's great to do a long podcast because I'm actually used to doing longer podcasts. So the Locked On thing has been a change for me. So any opportunity I get to come at a long form show, I do because I enjoy talking about it. I just enjoy talking. But I will say that I was a little disappointed last week that just in the reaction of how Cowboys Nation was about the victory. It was a solid victory against an NFL football team, and Dak I thought looked good, and there was just a lot of hand wringing over what was a pretty resounding victory.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't really know why I'm bringing this up other than just to say I think we should all put context on a lot of this stuff and remind ourselves, hey, we would have been thrilled to go into the bye week 6-2 if everything had gone perfectly correct. And the fact that it didn't go perfectly correct and we still were 6-2 tells me two things. One, we should be grateful for where we are. And two, it is almost impossible to predict the way the ball bounces in the NFL.
Yep.
Like things are going to happen that are you're never going to believe. Things are going to happen that you say before the season will never happen, cannot possibly happen. So I think there's always reason for hope with your team as long as you're, in a reasonable position. And I think the Cowboys are in a great position right now. So I think Cowboys fans should enjoy this while we're in it, and not, kind of feel the need to wring their hands over a team that's 6-2 and in a good spot to potentially make the playoffs and maybe make a playoff run.
Absolutely. And you got to remember that Lion team, they might not have a great record, but they're a scrappy bunch who've played a lot of close games.
Right.
The only team that's beat them by more than us is the Patriots, and everybody else, nobody beat them by more than 4 points.
Yep.
So they're a scrappy team. So gotta give them their credit. I like the direction that they are going in. So that was a good win in my opinion. I agree with you, Landon. Cam, any parting thoughts?
No, I mean, I kind of was feeling that same way, is that Cowboys Nation kind of acted like, oh no, Dak didn't come out and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and this is the worst thing ever. And we got a lot of what we asked for, and that was to keep the run game established and to keep a lot of that other looks that we had. And so, yeah, do better, Cowboys Nation. I love you, but quit it. No, looking good forward to this next week, this next game, and just glad to be back. I'll get out of vacation mode soon enough, but it's good to be back.
Absolutely. And you guys are spot on. I agree with you. And I appreciate everybody being here with us. And Landon, absolutely, thank you so much for joining us. If you don't follow Landon, please, Landon, where can they find you at on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm at McCool BCB, and then obviously the Locked On Cowboys podcast you can find YouTube, iTunes, anywhere you find podcasts. So please come check us out whenever you get
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every day I listen to that podcast. Love you guys.
Thank you guys.
You and Marcus do an absolute fantastic job.
Appreciate it.
So we really appreciate it. And somebody please win this t-shirt. Like,
right?
Come on. This is ridiculous.
We have other things to give away. That's what you guys
things are piled. I can see the pile behind the master right now. It's
right.
enormous. So please let him give away these t-shirts, guys.
I'll give it. I will say right now, so people can maybe get more serious about this. Later on in the season, there may be a signed Bob Lilly jersey in the waiting.
Wow, guys!
But gotta win the.
But you gotta get a predicted score first, right?
And there's a helmet, a Bob Lilly signed helmet too, guys. I mean, I don't know what y'all are doing.
Mr. Cowboy, guys. Start predicting this. Come on,
be smarter. Be smart.
I'm gonna start predicting, guys. If you guys, I'll get that helmet. I'll wear it on this show. If you guys do not get the right prediction. And get these t-shirts going. This is ridiculous.
Exactly. Well, appreciate all you guys.
Thank you so much for being on, Landon. We really appreciate it, and love all you in the chat, even you, TC. I'm telling you, when LVE finds out, it's not going to be my fault.
All right, everybody.
Have a great one.